That's why it's a free country, right? I didn't think she was controversial, but apparently I was wrong. What? You need to stop that. We're gonna take you to some Toastmasters, juniors.
Welcome to this meeting of the Board of Education. This meeting is being televised live on AACPS TV and streamed on AACPS's YouTube channel. General information and protocols for the meeting are posted on the sign by the doorway as you enter the room. So please make sure you read those if you have not already done so. It's time for our invocation. Oh God, we pray to administer that which is just in all educational policies, being ever mindful of your guidance. Stir us to action with love, wisdom, and understanding. And now for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we're going to move on to item 2.03, approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes is written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have consensus? Consensus. Okay. We're moving on to item 2.04, establish agenda order. I believe I have a motion.
Yes, President Selkworth, I move that we move item 2.05 to after item 2.08.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Consensus? Thank you. So we're going to be moving on
Excuse
to.
me, Mr. Silkworth. We have to approve the agenda as amended, please.
Oh, yes, thank you, thank you. Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Second? Any discussion? Consensus? We are all agreed. Okay. So I believe that's going to take us to item 2.06, the Educator of the Month. And that will be me. So, ladies and gentlemen, today the Board of Education of Anne Arundel County recognizes a teacher who is paving the way to excellence for all students and teachers. She is empathetic to all, passionate about doing what's best for students, caring in her words, consistent in her actions, persistent with building authentic connections, and a strong communicator. Students who see her name on their schedules have won the jackpot. She models professionalism in all of her interactions with students and staff. Miss Megan Snyder, graphic design teacher at the Center of Applied Technology North. Guess what? You're an AACPS rock star. Miss Snyder embodies the saying, if kids don't learn how you teach, then teach them how they learn. As the graphic design instructor, she works to incorporate the learning styles of her students into each lesson. She has students create numerous products, logos, and other amazing graphic projects while ensuring every student is authentically engaged. This personalized instruction is the bridge to success when the students interact with the content in the graphic design industry. Megan embraces the growth mindset and actively works to provide authentic feedback to her students. She utilizes Brightspace to give daily and instant feedback to her students. She promotes leadership and provides opportunities for her students to be ambassadors for learning. Ms. Snyder creates a safe learning environment that allows her students to be imaginative and productive. While teaching the curriculum, she differentiates instruction. Her love for the content is sensed by all students, as well as her desire for them to experience creative autonomy. Megan takes her course content and exposes students to real life experiences. Ms. Snyder's student has delivered outstanding products to local businesses, school alumni, and Skills USA Maryland. Finally, Ms. Snyder's display of passion and desire to teach is plain to see all day, every day. She always tries to ensure that her students see themselves in her curriculum and that everyone understands the topics easily. A student completer last year stated, when using Adobe InDesign, a software that didn't come easily to me, she made sure she put in the time to answer questions that I had thoroughly and thoughtfully. She set aside time in class to address my questions and produced examples to help my peers and me better understand. Miss Snyder, the Board of Education awards you as the Educator of the Month for February 2023. So congratulations. Would you please come forward to accept this award?
Thank you so much.
This is for you. And this is your citation.
Thank you.
Who is she with today?
So you want to tell us how they got you here?
Oh my
What did you
goodness.
think?
I thought that I was going to be discussing the use of Apple computers in our classroom and going forward. I am so like, And as I sat down, I was going, okay, wait a minute, what are we talking about again? I want to make sure I have all my stuff together, and I totally flabbergasted and completely caught off guard. This is very,
Well, you can
very-
still do that, but we really congratulate you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So we're going to move to item 2.07. The employee of the month is Mr. Lynn.
Our employee of the month for February 2024 is the face of the school and one of the first faces to greet anyone who comes into the building. In many ways, she makes families and students feel welcome and part of the Belle Grove community. Ms. Carmen Santana, Enrollment Secretary, is our February 2024 Employee of the Month. As a mother of four, Miss Santana is sensitive to the needs of others. As a Title I school, Miss Santana holds traits such as compassion, patience, kindness, and initiative, which are deeply rooted. The presence of these traits contributes positively to the climate and culture of Belle Grove Elementary School. Beyond her professional job description, Miss Santana is always willing to lend a hand. As the Enrollment and Attendance Secretary, she provides families with valuable information. Her attention to detail, problem solving, and organization contributes to the smooth functioning of the main office, which impacts the entire school building. Fluent in Spanish, Ms. Santana has helped parents, guardians, staff, and students bridge communication gaps. She is thoughtful in her actions concerning individuals of all walks of life. You can count on her to be a team player, as well as a woman who simply takes initiative to get the job done. She treats the students as if they were her own. Ms. Santana gives what she expects, professionalism and commitment. It is her professionalism that helps the office to run smoothly, and her commitment that bridges trust from the community to school environment and individual homes. Carmen Santana, the Belle Grove community salutes you for all that you do. They are grateful that you are part of the staff at Belle Grove Elementary School. Congratulations on earning Employee of the Month for February 2024. Would you please come forward to accept this award? So I have this for you, and then this certificate as well. So can I just ask you who you have here today first?
My mom, my kids, my husband, and my principal, and my friend. My friend Keisha and my friend Michelle.
Awesome. And how did they convince you to come down here today?
Well, Kate convinced me that I had a chain.
Okay. Since you can just.
Okay, that'd be perfect.
Thank you.
Next, we have item 2.08, our volunteer of the month, Ms. Stent.
Good afternoon. As you may or may not know, I worked for a little program called US Ability One, and our favorite quote was the quote that is written for this Volunteer of the Month. So it is my honor to introduce you to our next AACPS Volunteer of the Month. Helen Keller told us that alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. This volunteer of the month embodies those words, bringing together our community to do so much for our students. It's an honor to recognize her as our February 2024 Volunteer of the Month. This individual is not just a volunteer. She is a beacon of unwavering support and an inspiration for us all. For the past 9 years, Ms. Vicki Hood has been a cornerstone of North County and our school community. Her presence is felt in every corner of our school, to the point that everyone knows her or knows of her. Vicki has lent her time and expertise to various facets of the school life, from the athletics to booster to the PTSA, the swim team to the soccer and lacrosse teams. Her invaluable contributions to the senior class. She's ran concession stands for many years, shopping at all hours and spending many more hours ensuring that the concession stand ran smoothly. She has had her hand in all aspects of the after prom in 2022, helped with teachers' appreciation, senior picnics, and was a team mom for a variety of sports throughout the years. Her commitment is not confined to a single area. Rather, it entwines through multiple aspects of our school, leaving a mark of positivity. Not only does she volunteer in all these areas, she encourages others to volunteer and support the initiative as well. When someone at the school talks about fundraising, Vicki's fundraising talents are at the top of the list. She is nothing short of a fundraising master, raising thousands of dollars for a variety of school programs. She has been the largest fundraiser for candy bar sales across multiple years, even beyond the time her kids were involved. Whenever there's a need for financial support or a project that requires fundraising, Vicki is your go-to person. In the halls of North County High School, you will often hear someone say, if you want to raise money or get something done, call Vicki Hood. Her ability to mobilize and resource and rally this community together for the greater good is unparalleled. But it's not just the fund, it's not the raising of funds that is important. It's the passion and her dedication that she brings to the table. Vicki doesn't just meet expectations, she consistently goes above and beyond them. She invests not just her time, but her heart in everything that she does. Even more remarkably, her commitment has continued this year, even after her children have graduated, knowing that when we work together, we're contributing to the success of our students. Ms. Hood, North County High School, and the entire AACPS public school system and our community is blessed to have such a dedicated volunteer, and we thank you for your service. Would you please come forward? And it's with great appreciation that I would like to present you with the Volunteer of the Month bell and a certificate to you as a symbol of our appreciation. Congratulations. You can ring the bell. All right, so you got to tell us what got you here. Who's the culprit?
We were just coming to talk about what we did to fundraise for last year.
So anything you want to say to the people that you brought here, that you have with you here today?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Go Knights, by the way, Miss Hall. Go Knights. So that moves us to item 2.05.
We're going to take a break first.
Actually, we're going to take the break after.
Yeah, it changed.
Yeah, we're taking a break after the MoGABA. Yeah. So, item 2.05, 2024, MoGABA Awards. Dr. Bedell.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Mr. President. For this presentation, we will have our staff from our communication department, Monica, who will take us through this wonderful, wonderful part of the board meeting. So thank you.
President Silkworth, Vice President Frank, members of the board, and Dr. Bedell. I am Monica Monk, Senior Manager Communications for Anne Arundel County Public Schools, and it remains a precious privilege to be here today representing the MoGABA Awards Committee as we formally recognize the winners of the 2024 MoGABA Positivity and Perseverance Awards. For the last 3 years, on January 26th, as provided in the board-approved calendar, Mo Gaba Day has been proclaimed. This year, on what would have been Mo's 18th birthday, students, families, and staff painted the county orange and purple, honoring Mozilla Kingsley Gaba's inspiring impact on this world. As we continue the celebration, today we are proud to honor 5 students who display positivity and perseverance no matter the circumstance. Before I introduce these AACPS awesome students, I would like to acknowledge the Education Foundation of Anne Arundel County Public Schools for contributing $500 in each winner's name towards kindness initiatives at each of their schools. I'd also like to acknowledge the awards committee members, Ann Autry from School and Family Partnerships, Shirley Jackson Avery from School Counseling, Lynn Leach from Special Education, Kevin Wajek from Instruction, Noria Williams from School Performance, and Megan Wilmore from Communications. While rewarding, the committee's work is not easy. We received 98 very impressive nominations filled with stories of challenges and triumph, all deserving of recognition. And it is our hope that this acknowledgement provides the encouragement to all of the nominees to keep on going. Because of you, we are strong. And now the winners of the 2024 class of the Mo Gaba Positivity and Perseverance Award. To present the awards, we are excited that Mo's mom, Sanzi Gaba, and longtime aide Lynn Leach are here to celebrate with us. I'd like to ask them to come on up front. I've been doing this 3 years and I'm mentally prepared so this doesn't happen, but it's good tears. I'm thankful. Each winner will be introduced individually and then come forward to receive their award and take a picture with our special guests and board members. Loved ones of our honorees will be able to take formal pictures in the lobby and outside during the meeting break. Waiting for my first winner to come on in. She's on her way. She's going to make an entrance. Oh, okay. All right, well, let me tell you about Della. You stay right there. Della is our winner in the elementary primary category, and she's from Crofton Meadows Elementary. She's a second grader who embodies many of the same characteristics as Mo, by never allowing her physical limitations to hold her back from living her life to the fullest. Equipped with a smile that can defeat all negativity, Della's infectious and humorous personality brings out the best in students and staff alike. Della is awesome, and her future is just as bright as her smile. Congratulations, and is this Mom? Thank you. Next is the winner in the elementary intermediate category, Riley Crease of Rolling Nose Elementary School. Riley's light shines so brightly that even when she must use a robot to learn remotely, her presence is uplifting to her peers. While her health challenges cause fluctuations in her physical abilities, she refuses to allow her circumstances to alter her attitude, especially as an athlete. Riley, you demonstrate and possess all of the qualities that Mo Gaba stood for, and we know that you are destined to achieve great things. Congratulations, Riley. Come on up. Did you wear pink for Barbie? It's not right there. We'll go that way, Riley. In the middle school category, Kenneth Avila Sanchez of Southern Middle School has endured the effects of a rapidly progressing neurometabolic disorder, but you would never know by that smile. Filled with a kind heart, he makes everyone feel welcome. So much so that when a new student was struggling to find connections with other students, her bond with Kenneth led to a sense of belonging. Kenneth's impact is contagious as his classmates reciprocated his kindness by building him a desktop platform for his wheelchair to make it easier for him to use his iPad in class. Kenneth, you are remarkable, and your influence is powerful. Congratulations. Come on up. Yeah. That's right, Kenneth. Perfect. In the high school category, Shayna Hector of Crofton High School. Shayna is a young lady on a mission. Mhm. See? As her first order of business when she becomes president, it will be to make sure that everyone in the country and in the world feels kindness. From hallway chants of 3 more days till Friday, we can do it, to her tagline of at least we had fun, Shayna personifies what it means to make every day a win, just like Mo would say. I can definitely say that with Shayna on our team, there's no way we can lose. Congratulations, Madam President. And now for the Mo Gaba Positivity and Perseverance Legacy Award. This award is presented each year to a student who embraces the inclusion of all by supporting, encouraging, and advocating for their peers. This year's winner is Taryn Reinhardt of Annapolis High School. As the president of her school's Best Buddies chapter, Taryn shows unwavering dedication to fostering friendships that really show what it means to be in the AACPS family. From helping her school earn recognition by Special Olympics as a national top 5 unified school, to personally raising significant funds for the polar bear plunge, her compassion goes far beyond club activities. She's filled with responsibility that is humble and community-driven. Taryn's empathy is matched by her excellence in the classroom. Congratulations, Taryn. Please come forward. Congratulations. All right, let's give our deserving honorees one more round of applause. To Mo's mom, Sanzi, thank you for sharing Mo with us. We will continue to shine his light. Finally, this program highlights many wonderful attributes that should always be admired, but it also symbolizes that AACPS will not forget those we have lost. We remember every student and every staff member's unique contribution. We are forever family. Thank you.
time, we are going to take a grateful break. agenda item. So, before we get to the public comments, the members of this board appreciate hearing from interested citizens. As appropriate, we will refer your concerns to the superintendent for follow-up by his staff. The board will hear public comment from up to 10 total speakers, combination of virtual and in-person per agenda item, excluding personnel items, reports, and recognitions during a single public comment section in the early portion of the meeting. The board will hear public comment from up to 10 total speakers on items not on the agenda, excluding any student-specific or personnel items near the end of the meeting. The link to register to comment before the board opened at 3 p.m. on the Friday prior to this meeting. Registration closed at noon on the Monday prior to this meeting. Speakers may sign up for no more than 2 agenda items, but only once on any individual agenda item. For any item with more than 10 registered speakers, the board will employ a lottery process to select the speakers. Registrants who secure a slot to speak were notified by email at the email address they provided when they registered. All speakers will be allotted 2 minutes and must address the specifics of the agenda item for which they sign up. No speaker substitutions will be permitted. If your name is called and you are not present, we will move on to the next speaker. For anyone who was not selected to speak at today's meeting, you may email your comments to the board office at boardoffice@aacps.org. While we encourage public input on policies, programs, and practices within the purview of this board and the school system, this is not the proper forum to address specific student or employee matters or to comment on matters that do not relate to public education in Anne Arundel County. We encourage everyone to utilize existing dispute resolution processes as appropriate. I remind everyone that any inappropriate personnel remarks or other behavior that disrupts or interferes with the conduct of this meeting are out of order. Persons using language that is threatening or promotes violence against members of this body or Anne Arundel County public school employees are subject to legal penalties. Persons who otherwise disrupt or disturb this meeting will not be allowed to continue their remarks and will be asked to leave the meeting. It is not the board's general practice to engage in question and answer session with speakers. For the record, please give your name before speaking. Handouts should be given to the board assistant. I ask that speakers observe the 2-minute clock. A yellow light will shine when you have 30 seconds remaining and a tone will sound when your time has expired. Please conclude your remarks when you hear the tone. If you continue after your time has expired, the microphone may be turned off. It could also be turned off if a speaker addresses specific student or employee matters or are commenting on matters not related to public education in Anne Arundel County. So for in person, we have 3 speakers signed up, and I'll call them up, Robert Cutter, Christina Black, and Scott Kolak. First would be Mr. Cutter.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Cutter. I'm speaking on behalf of, or for Monarch Academy. I'm a parent of 2 children with a 3rd starting next year. I've been there, my children have been there for 6 years currently. I think it's been an amazing school. I volunteer there often. I go on all their as many field trips as they'll let me go on. I'm really happy that I was able to be part of a school where my kids could go there for 9 total years and get to actually know teachers, support staff, and everybody. It makes them more comfortable. My son's going into middle school next year, and he actually knows a lot of people because he's been there for so long. So he's gotten to meet a lot of the middle school administrators as well as teachers that he actually knows going in. So he's a lot more comfortable making that transition. I've been very happy with the focus of the school. They've spent a lot of time trying to teach the kids about the environment, about being a better part of the community. They've shown that through field work. We've gone to book banks and they've gotten to learn about what they can do to help out. And I thought that's been pretty amazing. So, and I've seen that with the other students in the school. When I've seen problems have been among students, they've been more compassionate than I've seen in other places. So anyhow, I just want to say that I'm grateful to have the choice of another school that has fit our family very well over the years. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cutter. Christina Black.
Good afternoon. I'll try to talk fast. I think it's like 2 minutes and 3 seconds. How can you measure a school's ability to prepare your children for high school and beyond? Data, of course. So the data that I collected is actually living proof. My 2 teenagers that are now in 10th and 11th grade. They began Monarch Global Academy when our school opened 10 years ago. I say our, not only because I'm a parent of the MGA community, but also one of their proud 2nd grade teachers. This unique opportunity of working at my children's school allowed me to witness firsthand the amazing and inspiring, challenging, and authentic experiences that my children were able to share with their peers. The academic, professional, emotional, and mental support that MGA provides for not just the students, but the staff has been life-changing. MGA's teachers not only provided an education for my children, but they showed them how to create opportunities through social interactions, community service, public speaking, and real-world experiences. They did all of this while demonstrating their passion for teaching. Our entire staff at MGA makes a commitment each year to create an equitable, diverse culture that emulates inclusion and a feeling of belonging. I'm honored that my children were part of that culture. The rapport between my children and their MGA teachers enabled them to confidently utilize their strengths and talents to the best of their ability. We didn't have to attend MGA. Our family had a choice each year, and each year we all chose MGA. And as a teacher, I still choose MGA. I'll leave you with something that to me shows a little how much of an impact that MGA can make. 2.5 years ago, the night before my son's first day as a freshman, he said, "Mom, can you please call my 6th grade teacher from Monarch so I can get some advice from her for the first day of school?" And I replied, "Yes, but only if you let me talk to her first because I'm really nervous about tomorrow too." Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Scott Kolak.
That's a hard act to follow, but I'll do my best. So, good afternoon. I'm honored to speak to you today in support of renewing Monarch Global Academy's public charter. I stand here with my son, Nate, a current junior at Annapolis High School, participating in 3 sports, football, baseball, and swimming, and also part of the Apex Arts program in film and new media, and is currently in rehearsal for the school play, The Addams Family. Nate was able to do all this because of the growth he achieved during his time in Monarch Global Academy. I know I'm embarrassing my son, but I'm pretty proud of him. That's right. My son attended Monarch Global Academy from 2nd grade in 2014 when they opened through 8th grade in 2021. He had amazing experiences during those years, making lifelong friends, learning and growing as a student and as an individual. We had been looking forward to MGA opening, and we were excited to have the school choice for our son. The fact that Monarch offered a primary year's IB program and transformation education philosophy inspired us to be a part of this learning experience. The school consistently demonstrates its goal to prepare students to be creative, critical thinkers, problem solvers, and lifelong learners while providing a nurturing, supportive environment. From the classroom staff to the teacher specialists, building personnel, front office staff, and administration, the staff is dedicated to the success of the students. Students at MGA know that they are part of a larger global community. Students who need support receive that support, and students who need support receive the support they need, and students who need enrichment are challenged, all while learning side by side, learn from each other. Before the school opened, the future parents held a meeting and created a PTA. I first volunteered to be the PTA president to be involved in the new school and help build a community. I stayed on as PTA president for 7 years. I stayed on as PTA president for the duration of Nate's time at MGA because the community and the joy it brought to give back to the talented and dedicated staff of MGA. Monarch Academy will always hold a very special place in the hearts and minds of our family. We are forever grateful that Nate and we were privileged to be a part of this special school. Thank you, MGA, for teaching my son the life skills to be the man he is today. We are thankful to AACPS that families have the ability to choose a public charter school for their children. Sorry for running late.
Thank you. So that concludes our in-person public comment. I believe we do have one public comment on agenda items virtually. Carol Bittner.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. My name is Carol Bittner, and I'm speaking in support of renewing Monarch Academy Glen Burnie's charter. My husband and I are lifelong residents of Anne Arundel County. My husband's in his 30th year teaching and coaching for AACPS. We have 5 children, 4 of whom are graduates of Monarch and AACPS. The 5th is in 7th grade at Monarch Glen Burnie. Our family began attending Monarch in 2010, the 2nd year of the school's existence, and we've had a student enrolled in the school ever since. Having a larger family, we've experienced a variety of educational and social needs. Among our 5 children, we have a child with a learning difference who accessed AACPS special education through Monarch. We have adopted children, one of whom entered kindergarten with less than a year speaking English. We have BIPOC, LGBTQ+, and G&T children. All this to say that each of our children are unique with strengths and weaknesses and all blossomed at Monarch. We are thankful we were able to choose Monarch Academy. At Monarch, each of our children found educational opportunities, a supportive learning environment, and a tight-knit community that saw and valued their gifts. The opportunity to participate in the expeditionary learning model, coupled with the student-centered culture of Monarch, gave space for each of our children to find and reach their potential. The EL model kept them engaged in learning, particularly during those difficult middle school years. Monarch creates the opportunity for every student to work together toward common goals and also to set and achieve individual ones. These abilities serve students well throughout their educational careers and beyond. Our 4 Monarch graduates received a high-quality education that enabled them to go on to Broadneck High School, where they were academically successful and positively contributed to the community. Their success continues with our eldest raising a family across the country where her husband is stationed, a junior at Howard, a sophomore at McDaniel, and a freshman at St. Mary's College of Maryland. Each has made deep connections to the Monarch community and discussed the impact Monarch has had on their lives, specifically their ability to think critically, take responsibility for their life's journey, and the ability to get along with a great variety of people. We feel fortunate that our family was given the opportunity to choose Monarch and implore you to continue to allow AACPS families to have a choice in their children's education by renewing Monarch Academy's charter. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. So that does conclude public comment on our agenda item. So we're going to be moving on to item 4.01, Policy Committee Report. Ms. Ellis.
Thank you, Mr. Silkworth, President Silkworth. So the Policy Committee met yesterday, 3 p.m., and we reviewed Policy JK, Student Behavior Interventions, Exclusion, Seclusion, and Physical Restraint. This policy was minimally updated with just a little bit of, there's some grammatical and some references to state law, but there was nothing substantive that was revised in the policy, so it did not need to come before the board today. However, the regulation, JKRA, for the that accompanies that policy, had many significant changes with input from very qualified staff to update the procedures with students. And so if board members have an interest in seeing those revisions, you can look at those and ask your questions of staff. And that's it for yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ellis. So we'll move on to item 4.02, the President's Report. So I do have a few things. Several of my colleagues and I had the opportunity recently, actually last week, to attend the National School Boards Association's Equity Symposium and Advocacy Institute events in Washington, D.C. Interesting experience. Combined, more than 1,000 people attended these 2 events. Last week, Dr. Tobin, Eric Lynn, Ms. Corkadell, Ms. Schauheim, and I had that honor to attend the NSBA Equity Symposium in D.C. We had the opportunity to network with many of our colleagues across the country. All 50 states were represented. On Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of last week, Ms. Corkadell, Ms. Schauheim, Eric Lynn, and I attended the NSBA advocacy program. And we did have the opportunity to advocate for AACPS and our students on Capitol Hill on Tuesday. And I will share, interestingly, the number one concern amongst NSBA members across the country is the mental health of our students. And the number two concern is early literacy. Now, I would like to take the opportunity to thank Ms. Schalheim for guiding us through this event. She was our driver and she did a marvelous job. We couldn't have done it without you. Now, Ms. Schalheim and I also had the chance to attend a robotics competition at Lindale Middle School on Saturday. I have to tell you, and I know Ms. Schalheim will agree, it was very impressive. This was Saturday, February the 3rd. We had the opportunity to spend some time at the robotics competition with the Lindale robotics team and Mr. Hall. This group is truly amazing. Team 45908E from Lindale is the number one ranked team in this state of Maryland. Did y'all hear that? Number one. That's absolutely appropriate. They are ranked 206th in the world, but that's out of 5,235 teams. They are ranked 94 in the United States out of 4,000 teams. And they are ranked first in Maryland out of 112 teams. They will be representing Lindale and AACPS at the state tournament in Hagerstown on Saturday, February 24th. Congratulations and good luck to them. They are marvelous. Okay, so also, I want to put in a plug for our visual arts program. If you are in this room now or are visiting the Parham building before February 15th, please stop and look at the Teacher as Artist exhibit located in the lobby. This special exhibit reflects the artistic expression of 31 visual arts professionals across our county who give our students opportunity, encouragement, and guidance in their own creative expression. It also illustrates that our teachers are not only educators, but they are practicing artists themselves. Now, I would also like to mention that Ms. Corkadell is absent today due to an illness, and so she is home. How you doing, Ms. Corkadell? Listening from home via YouTube, we certainly hope that you're feeling better. On her behalf, she would like to thank the U.S. Army and their agency partners for the awesome STEM Lab Day at Southern High School. She appreciates the opportunity to attend session number 3 on Friday and the career inspiration that they gave to so many of our students who normally have little, if any, opportunities to explore STEM careers firsthand. And lastly, thanks to everyone for attending the MABE Legislative Day on Monday. I was there. Dr. Tobin was there, including Speaker Jones, Governor Moore's office, Chairwoman Atterbury, MABE Executive Director Milton Nagel, Legislative Director John Willems, and the others who made the event a success and shared their educational insights and goals for the 2024 session. So that concludes the President's report. Oh, yes, Ms. Schalheim was there as well. Absolutely. You're always there, Ms. Schalheim. And once again, thank you. I couldn't have made it through DC absolutely without her. Okay, so we're going to move on to item 4.03, the superintendent's report. Dr. Bedell.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we have a number of slides to go through. Let's start off with the first one. Last week, Dr. Tobin, Ms. Dent, and I had the opportunity to join Governor Wes Moore and Lieutenant Governor Aruna Miller on their visit to Glen Burnie High School. They had an opportunity to talk to an amazing group of students during this visit. We had a chance to tour several classrooms, and then I was honored to be a part of a roundtable discussion with more than a dozen students about the impact of gun violence and how it has impacted their individual lives. What I will say is it did offer an opportunity for our students to insert a high degree of vulnerability. There was one 10th grade student who said to me that he really had not opened up about how it has impacted his life, and that he was happy to have that opportunity to do so in that event. I want to thank the governor and lieutenant governor for their willingness to take part in these types of discussions. And just please know that they are welcome at our schools anytime they want to speak to our incredible students and staff. I do look forward to legislation that will continue to further support our students and the community as a whole as we deal with some of the repercussions of violence. And so I'm very much inspired and optimistic about the governor's agenda in that area. On Thursday, Dr. Tobin, Mr. Dickerson, Ms. Jackson, and I had the chance to stand at the edge of the Chesapeake Bay and watch hundreds of our students run into the water as part of the Cool Schools Plunge to raise money for Special Olympics. We took pictures with several of our students in different schools who were in the front. I believe Arundel High School had maybe 260 students or so there. And they're very loud. And so, the energy is contagious. So I really enjoy having an opportunity to do that. I know many people are challenging me to get into the water, and I told them if it's a jacuzzi, I'll jump in that, but I'm not getting in cold water. But I will come and I will support.
Dr. Bedell, I was also there as a chaperone with my daughter's school.
Okay.
Springer Park Middle.
All right, great. So I
It's very loud. No, because I was amongst the 8,000 participants.
Okay,
too.
yeah. So you were in there. Okay, well, thank you as usual
My daughter
for
plunged.
your visibility. All right. As of the last report, our students have raised nearly $500,000 for Special Olympics. I want to thank each and that's huge. I want to thank each and every person, not just in our county, but from everywhere who participated in this event. It was an amazing display of inclusion and love for one another. And we know that the Anne Arundel County Public School District's unified sports program is probably the most robust in this state. And I couldn't be any prouder of the things that we're doing to create this sense of belonging across this county. And that's just another example. The February edition of Straight from the Soup is now online. This edition focuses on our calendar flexibility legislation, and I discuss what it is and what it is not. I want to say this again to clear up any confusion. This is not an attempt to move to a 4-day school week across this county. This is one possibility for those students who are college and career ready students, but this is not for all of our students. This gives those students an opportunity to interface with the workforce through internship opportunities, those types of things, and they're not penalized as a result of not being in school potentially on that 5th day of the week. But there are many other benefits to this, including the potential to greatly reduce or even eliminate 2-hour early dismissal days. And for those of us who are parents, having 12 early dismissal days can be a burden on us trying to figure out what do we do to provide coverage for our children. You can read about this at www.aacps.org/Soup Bedell. And the video is there to give further understanding of this legislation and the flexibility that it will provide for us as we work to continue to innovate in this school district. Our strategic plan continues to take shape with our consultant Insight Education Group, having now completed more than 45 focus groups around the county. More than 500 people participated in those groups, and more than 100 of those were students. So when we say this will be a community plan, we mean it. All voices are being included. The steering committee, which has 2 of our board members, Dr. Tobin and Mr. Lynn on it, met last night to continue to fine-tune the plan. It is now bringing the portrait of a student and the plan's core values and beliefs into focus. We remain on track to bring the plan to this board by May for a July 1 implementation. And as I had a chance to observe and look at some of the feedback last night, people in this community, they're really taking this seriously. They're giving us the information that we need to make sure that this is a well thought out strategic plan that will take our school district from good to great. So I'm really excited about that. Also, from in terms of FY25 budget update, this is really important. And I wanted to offer this in the superintendent's report for the record. I want to remind everyone of the budget process that is now underway. The board is considering my recommended budget and will adopt its formal recommendation after considering any amendments at the February 21st meeting. That budget will then be forwarded to the county executive, Stuart Pittman. The budget, in conjunction with phase 2 of the reorganization plan, the curriculum audit that this board authorized, and the next phase of the blueprint implementation plan, along with the adoption of our new strategic plan, as I stated a few minutes ago, will form the basis of our path forward as a school system. There are a lot of moving parts at this juncture, and I want to be clear that there are more changes to come as we continue to shift pieces of the large puzzle to address needs and best serve our students. I have said from day one, when I got here, that every move we make will be done with that in mind. I want everyone to understand, though, that this will be a tough budget year, as I've said from day one. However, we are in a much better position than some other school systems which have signaled that they may be laying off employees. While there will be a need to realign and reallocate positions and resources both in and out of our schools, it will be done to better serve our students. Jobs may look different through the process, but no one will lose a job because of this process. I had an opportunity to share this with the school board in executive close under personnel, that we know in this county, special education services have to improve. We have to do a better job in that space. We also have to do a better job building up our gifted and talented education system program in this school district. We're doing a lot in the middle, and I feel really good about that, but we do have these unique populations of students where I think we fall short. That is going to require that we take a look differently at how we're utilizing the resources we currently have. I cannot in good conscience continue to go to the county executive and ask the county and ask this school board to approve for more FTEs when I'm not certain that we need to do that when we have FTEs in this county that at this point there's some redundancy, things aren't being utilized properly, and we are going to do our due diligence. And this is going to look different for Anne Arundel County because historically we don't generally do a lot of touching of FTE reallocations at the school level. But it has to be done if we want to move to becoming a great school district. What this also means, and there are several principals in here who have heard me say this, anytime we go through these changes, there is a valley of despair at points. We're going to hit the valley, right? And sometimes you have to hit that because what I call that is this level of discomfort in order for us to get better. What it means is that certain things that we've been doing and certain practices, we cannot continue on that path. People need to understand, and I heard this teacher and parent in our district come up here and speak and said, data is important. Well, the data is telling us in Anne Arundel County that we are a middle of the road school district, and that is unacceptable. And it will not be something that I will continue to let us operate in that manner because we don't have the courage to make the decisions and to do the movements that need to be done. Lastly, nobody will lose a job. I need to make sure that people understand that. Any budget amendments that will be proposed will be made public on Friday, February 16th, 5 days before the meeting at which the board will consider them. And my promise is any unit impacted by any of these potential changes, we will be in communication with you all well in advance. They're not substantial. They're not a lot, but they are changes that will have to happen if we are to move this school district from good to great. Staffing improvements, as I've shared with you every 2 weeks, we are continuing to, actually look a lot better than we did last year at this time. 114 classroom teacher vacancies compared to 199. And we're talking about some 5,700 teachers or so in the county. We think that there's a great opportunity that we hopefully will be able to reduce that significantly. And we know with school districts having to do some furloughing, we think that's an opportunity for Anne Arundel to get out and to do some more recruiting and to try to attract some of those educators to come into our school district. Our HR department is on that. School bus situation, we're building the bench. As you can see, the numbers are looking better and better. So we're in a situation now where we're able to provide more services outside of just being able to get kids to and from school, but from an extracurricular standpoint, from an activities bus standpoint. So I feel really good about the direction we're heading in, and you can see the rest of these numbers where we know we still have work to do, but we're continuing to move along. Finally, in January, this board approved formal names for our 2 newest schools, Severn Run High School and Two Rivers Elementary School, which will open in August. Committees from those schools have been working to gather and analyze community input with regard to a mascot and colors for each school. I have been very pleased with the way this process has gone, and I am proud to announce to you today the mascot and colors for these 2 schools. Severn Run's high school mascot will be the Wolves, and its colors will be orange and blue. Two Rivers Elementary School's mascot will be the Terrapins, and its colors will be blue and green. I want to thank Severn Run Principal Rachel Kennelly and Two Rivers Principal Alexis McKay, who are both here, for the hard work they are doing to get these schools ready. I had the opportunity to tour both schools with Dr. Tobin, Ms. Ellis, and some others last week, and I was really, really impressed with the progress that's taking place. So thank you all, and we're excited about this. Congratulations on a job well done. Mr. President, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Bedell. So go Wolves, go Terrapins. I do see one light, Ms. Frank.
Yes, I just wanted to point out that we appreciate that Dr. Bedell moved to Maryland. Unfortunately for him, he didn't realize that jumping into a freezing bay was part of the culture here.
Now, have you jumped into it yet?
No, sir.
All right. See, so I'm just saying that because we're both aligned, right? See, we have some things in common when it comes to clothing and all of that kind of stuff. So I know you built like me.
And you noticed I was not in that water.
I do, exactly.
There may come a year, but this was not the one.
Yep, when it's about 70 outside.
That time won't come for me.
My daughter went in 4 or 5 times. She was great.
That's marvelous. That's marvelous.
I would have done that in middle school too.
I have to say that it's absolutely unbelievable that the great students of Anne Arundel County were able to help raise, was it $1 million? That really deserves another round of applause. It really does. But you know, it's not just the students that do that. There's so many people that work so hard to make that happen. So that applause was for all of them as well. So thank you.
Mr. Silkworth, if I could just add, I walked into that event with the principal from Glen Burnie, Mr. Carr, and they too were there that day. And he said they crushed their fundraising goals as well. So I think, and South River was there, and I think they did incredible. It was, and I know Annapolis High was in another group, and so many schools across our county are to be commended for the work that they did.
Thank you, Dr. Tobin. So we're going to move on to item 5.01 through 5.03, award of contracts. Do I hear a
Let's bundle
bundle?
those, please.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Dr. Bedell.
Thank you, Mr. President. The superintendent recommends that the Board of Education authorize the award of contracts items on the consent items 5.01 through 5.03.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any discussion? Seeing no lights, Ms. Howe.
Mr. Lynn?
Aye.
Ms. Frank?
Aye.
Dr. Tobin?
Aye.
Ms. Ellis?
Aye.
Ms. Schallheim?
Aye.
Ms. Dent?
Aye.
Mr. Silkworth?
Aye,
Motion passes 7-0.
thank you. So moving on to item 6.01, administrative personnel appointments. I don't believe we have any. 6.02, personnel, Dr. Bedell.
Thank you, Mr. President. The superintendent recommends that the board approve the actions as stipulated on the attached sheets.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Howe.
Mr. Lynn?
Aye.
Ms. Frank?
Aye.
Dr. Tobin?
Aye.
Ms. Ellis?
Aye.
Ms. Schallheim?
Aye.
Ms. Dent?
Aye.
Mr. Silkworth?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, we're moving on to items, policy revisions, second reading, 6.03, educational equity code AF.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes.
President. For this presentation, we will have Grace Wilson, who will take us through the second reading of the Educational Equity Policy Code AF.
Thank you, Dr. Bedell. Good afternoon, President Silkworth, Vice President Frank, and members of the board. For the record, I'm Grace Wilson, Legislative and Policy Specialist for AACPS. Policy AF, Educational Equity, is before you on second reading after being posted for a 30-day public comment period. There was no feedback received during that public comment period. This policy ensures that AACPS has procedures and best practices in place to provide for educational equity and eliminate obstacles to accessing educational opportunities for all students. The policy was last updated May 20th, 2020. And Code of Maryland Regulations 13A 01, 06, 04 requires that we review this policy every 3 years. And as such, it was scheduled for review. Staff reviewed the policy and did not have any recommended changes except for the addition of legal references. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. So I'm looking for some lights. Ms. Frank.
At the appropriate time, I have a motion, Mr. President. So
Okay, no other discussion. Okay, Ms. Frank.
I am going to send an amended motion. I move to strike the paragraph of section B issue and amend the remaining paragraph to be, the promise of public education is for every child to succeed in school and life. To realize this promise, every child must be given resources, supports, and interventions based on the individual student's needs. The Board of Education of Anne Arundel County Board is committed to fulfilling this promise to all students and dismantling barriers to school-home partnerships. So the slight change was just to add of education of Anne Arundel County after the board, after striking the first paragraph. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. So discussion, Ms. Schallheim.
This should come as a surprise to no one. I will be a no on this amendment. I find this particularly egregious given that it's Black History Month. Thank you.
Dr. Tobin.
Yes, in light of many things, including the particular history of the district I represent, I have grave concerns about this. I remember, I think it was about a year ago, Mr. Silkworth, you and I attended an event in downtown Annapolis where there was an unveiling of a marker, series of historical markers recording the old Fourth Ward. And for those of you who are not familiar with this history, there was a thriving community, middle class community of shops and homes that was largely African American and to some extent Jewish. It was raised at the time of quote unquote urban renewal, and the area which is now the Arundel Center where the county government is housed, and the area across the street from that, which is a parking lot, and what is now known as the People's Park, are in that area. And Mr. Silkworth noted to me after the event that you had lived in this county your entire life and knew nothing of that history. The reason I raise it is it directly demonstrates, in my view, the statement as originally made in the policy as it stands now. The Board of Education of Anne Arundel County Board acknowledges the historical generation and compounding reality of the systems, structures, and practices that have intentionally and unintentionally created and continue to afford advantages to some student groups while perpetuating inequities for others. AACPS must take responsibility and action for dismantling and actively repairing these inequities to ensure positive educational outcomes for all AACPS students. For those who wonder what transpired after the raising of the Fourth Ward, you have to understand what that meant. That meant generational wealth that had been accumulated by African American families over decades was systematically destroyed. And we have in the Annapolis area public housing communities. In fact, all the full-on public housing in this county is located in Annapolis. So think of the Robinwood community, Newtown, and others. Those communities were where many of these families were forced to move. Those communities were intentionally designed away from downtown, off easy public transportation routes, with one way in and one way out, and no shops, no locally resident-owned businesses and communities in those communities. There's no church in the middle of Robinwood. There's no shop in the middle of Robinwood. And it was intentionally designed that way. I talk about this history for a couple of reasons. I have mentioned from this dais before in other contexts, I believe we are not here to deal in magical thinking. We are here to deal in fact. This history is a fact. We are in the business of education. I have devoted my career to ensuring that my students understand the facts. Because when we learn them, when we teach them, and when we take responsibility for them, we enable ourselves and our children to do better. When we set out to erase them, we do harm. And so I am deeply, deeply concerned about this. I think this reaches to many issues that will have massive implications. I believe in taking responsibility. I believe that responsibility is not just for what you choose to bring into your life. It is responsibility for what is in your life. We as a community bear responsibility for legacy decisions that have been made, that have set up structures that we now understand have significant implications for our students in this cluster and many other parts of this county, and for our entire community. And so I urge my colleagues to vote on behalf of the truth, vote on behalf of the facts. Do not engage in wishful thinking of what you would like history to be or what you would like to have go away. The only way it's going to go away is if we decide to do better. And finally, I will end, and thank you for allowing me this rather lengthy set of comments, Mr. President. I believe that one of the most important things we can demonstrate for our students is nothing that we find in our circumstances right now is an accident. People in power made decisions which have landed us here. The only way to change that trajectory is for people in power to make different decisions. And that is what I hope my colleagues will remember. Thank you.
Preach.
Ms. Ellis.
Thank you. I believe I understand and appreciate the concerns with the language in this paragraph. When it was the last time around, I guess it was 3 years ago that this policy came to us. The language in that first paragraph under issue came to us without the word unintentionally. And I offered an amendment, which did succeed, to make it into the policy. And I did feel better about that because if we're gonna recognize our history, we have to recognize all of it. I do not have a concern with this language in our policy. I do think we have to hold ourselves accountable to doing our part and by recognizing obstacles that have been in place. But I do worry about where else this type of language might be used. And so that's where I offer that I kind of understand the concern, because the history is what it is, but I do believe that we have created a system here where students can succeed no matter what their circumstances. And I would hate to ever send the message to a student that there are these obstacles preventing them from success. Dr. Bedell himself has told his story. And the message I've taken from that is the path to success and a better life is through personal perseverance and accountability. And I do want to make sure that none of our students feel that they are born a victim and unable to achieve. And so when I see this message delivered elsewhere outside of this policy again is for this board to hold ourselves accountable to achievement for all students. I do share that concern a bit, and we've had testimony from students and parents who have said they don't want their students being told that they're victims. And so I appreciate what I believe is the spirit in which this amendment was offered. But I will not be supporting the motion because again, I feel that as a board, we can take a responsibility for holding ourselves accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ellis. I would simply like to say that I share the same concerns as Dr. Tobin and Ms. Ellis. As I see no more lights, Ms. Frank, you'd be the last one to speak on this motion.
Great. Thank you, President Silkworth. The point of this motion was a couple of pieces. First of all, the issue itself. The explanation for why we have a policy, the first paragraph of this issue is fairly redundant if you look at the rest of the issue. The point of the policy is to create an educational equity policy. You can do that without the divisive rhetoric that is encapsulated in paragraph 1. If we want to have a focus on education and we want to have a focus on academics, and we want to do that without being divisive, we can maintain our history, we can teach what we want to teach, but we don't have to add that into what is basically a redundant piece of issue. The people in power have made decisions. I thought that was a really powerful statement by my colleague. The people in power make decisions, but we also have to make decisions moving forward. We have done that with the superintendent, who has focused on equity, who has promised to maintain a focus on equity. We do not have to continue to dredge up the parts of mistakes that others have made in some sort of effort to right the wrongs of the past. You cannot right them. What you can do is make sure that your current policy is appropriate for all students. So to that point, I think that it was really inappropriate that one of my colleagues brought up Black History Month, because inequity doesn't happen to one group of people. It can happen to lots of groups of people. It is not necessarily a racial issue. It is an issue that transcends race. It transcends economics, and it transcends essentially what your health or well-being can be as well. So it's a much broader issue than that. It's not something that this board can fix with an issue statement, but what we can do is fix it with action. That includes hiring of employees, our main employee who will address issues, and we can continue to make sure that all students have a sense of belonging and not just some groups over others. So thank you.
So thank you, Ms. Frank. Seeing no more lights, I believe we're ready for a vote. Ms. Howe.
Ms. Frank moved to strike the first paragraph from policy AF, educational equity, section B issue, and amend the remaining paragraph to read, "The promise of public education is for every child to succeed in school and life. To realize this promise, every child must be given resources, supports, and interventions based on the individual student's needs. The Board of Education of Anne Arundel County Board is committed to fulfilling this promise to all students and dismantling barriers to school-home partnerships." Mr. Lynn?
Nay.
Ms. Frank?
Aye.
Dr. Tobin?
Nay.
Ms. Ellis?
Nay.
Ms.
It
Schallheim?
hurts students, no.
Ms. Dent?
Nay.
Mr. Silkworth?
Nay.
1 in the affirmative and 6 in the negative, motion fails.
Thank you. So, Ms. Wilson, this will go to the third reading?
Yes, at the February 21st board meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, under other action items, we have item 6.04, items of legislation. Ms. Wilson.
Again, for the record, Grace Wilson, Legislative and Policy Specialist. Before I review the items of legislation exhibit with you, I did just want to share a brief update on the progress we have made on your priority legislative issue for this session to allow us some calendar flexibility. Delegate Henson has sponsored House Bill 881 entitled Anne Arundel County Public Schools Innovative Scheduling Pilot Program on our behalf. And Senator Guile and the rest of the Anne Arundel County Senate delegation have sponsored Senate Bill 909. This legislation authorizes you, the Board of Education of Anne Arundel County, to operate one or more schools in the district on a pilot basis using an innovative school scheduling model. The House delegation is currently considering making this a delegation bill, which would significantly increase the chances this bill has of passing this session. And I just wanted to note this because it was not included in the items of legislation exhibit before you because the bill text was not available yet. So now turning to the legislative exhibit, you'll recall that there are 3 sections. Bills in the first section require a board vote. Bills in the section are for your information only. And bills in the third section align with the positions in the board's legislative program. You will see in the first section of this document, I have asked for your input on House Bill 373. This afternoon, this bill proposes a referendum to the Maryland Constitution during the 2024 general election to grant the Maryland General Assembly the power to authorize the county to lower the age at which an individual may vote in an election for the members of an elected county board of education. Contingent upon the passage of this legislation, the bill authorizes the county to enact a local law that allows individuals who are 16 or older to vote in the election for members of an elected county board. Mabe and Pazam have adopted no position on this bill. I would recommend you do the same, but I'd like your input.
Okay. Dr. Dr. Tobin.
Yes, I actually also have an additional comment on another piece of legislation, so I perhaps will come back to that after offering my input on this. Could you say a little more, Ms. Wilson, about why you recommend no position on this?
Absolutely. As a county board of education, we don't typically delve into issues that affect elections. And that's why I would recommend staying out of this. This is a question that's being put to the people of Maryland, and I don't think that our input on this bill will impact it one way or another.
Okay, that's helpful, and makes sense to me. I will say, however, we are perhaps in a unique position as a Board of Education that has the only student member with full voting rights. And I believe the spirit of that is because we have a strong commitment to the necessity of real student voice in the decisions made by the body that has the most immediate impact on students. And so I will say, I actually think that your reasoning is very sound. And from a practical perspective, I'm personally very willing to take your advice on this. I only want to say that philosophically, I actually believe that more students should be able to vote for their Board of Education members because we make decisions that directly impact them. And I think that's simply an extension of the democratic principle. So that is my own view, but I certainly am very happy to accept your professional expertise on really what is most efficacious in terms of where we step in and where we don't. So thank you for that. And I would like to take up something later when we have other.
Michelle Hunt.
Yeah, I appreciate you you putting this before us for our deliberation. I just want to offer, I did look up, I don't know this delegate. I did look up the jurisdiction which the sponsoring delegate is from, and it's from Montgomery County. I just urge Montgomery County to make their student member a member with full voting rights, because we see the benefits here. So yeah, and I will take your advice at the appropriate time, and I'm happy to proffer that motion as you see fit, President. So thank you.
Ms. Ellis.
So I'm a bit torn here. I hear and I appreciate your recommendation, Ms. Wilson. It makes sense. Normally we shouldn't get to decide who elects us, right? But we also, we have age limits for voting for all other offices. That's not proposed here. It's only the Board of Education. And the decisions that are made by Board of Education are really, really important. Like some of the most important decisions that are made in a local, in a county. And we have to be real about, would we offer voting to 10-year-olds, to 7-year-olds? There's an age limit for a reason. And if 18 is the voting age, I would think 18 would be the voting age for the Board of Education, because the weight of the decisions that are made by this body are as significant as any. And it does require a level of education and maturity to be able to fully see the big picture and understand things like budget and staffing and all sorts of. I have great concern about this bill. I guess can I ask, are there other lights? Do other people have input? Because I'd like to hear it, but there are. Okay. I'll hold, but I may make a motion. Thank you.
Mr. Lynn.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Silkworth. So I definitely support, not taking a position on this as appropriate, but just a little bit of my perspective. I know plenty of 16-year-olds who have already taken on part-time jobs. I know I started working a part-time job when I was 16, and many of these students, they're paying taxes, and there's that taxation without representation argument, but I won't get into that. But just a little insight on that, I just feel like if these kids are mature enough to be able to have the ability to go out and get jobs, that they should have the ability to vote for their local board members that make decisions pertaining to their education.
Ms. Frank.
I actually do agree with my colleague, Mr. Lynn, on that it is taxation without representation. Totally agree with that point. But I think that that is a different issue. I think that the taxation without representation is its own issue that should be addressed separately. There is a very rigorous vetting process for our student member. I would not say that all students certainly are able to handle the scope of work that some of the best and brightest that our students have handled on this board. I know a lot of students who would not be able to delve into some of these issues. It's a very prestigious role that you have, Mr. Lynn, and we do not take that lightly. We have 85,000 students, and we only have one student board member. So it is a huge honor that we serve with a member who has gone through that process and is able to represent those students. So I wouldn't necessarily say that every 16-year-old would have that same maturity and have that breadth of ability. And in addition, we do have age restrictions on things like tobacco and alcohol, which are even older than what our voting age is. So I think we should be very cognizant. We do know that development continues to occur, and for many students, they are not finished with their developmental process. And I think that ability to reason and that maturity level comes into play with something that at least I believe is very important in our democratic process. So thank you.
So I too am torn between yes or no on this particular issue. History does matter. What's the history of Anne Arundel County when it comes to school board members? It's the greatest in the country. And yeah, it is. There is a great deal of vetting that takes place. But I've taught so many teenagers, and I just have to tell you that if I were going to vote today, I would probably vote in favor of it because I happen to trust our teenagers. The one I've taught so many, and I just think that they would take it seriously. They would rise to the occasion, and they would take it seriously. But having said that, I will listen to what Ms. Wilson has said. So I don't see any other lights. Ms. Schellheim. Oh, wait a minute, Ms. Ellis. Ms. Ellis.
Yeah, I said I did as well. And I did say I was going to have a motion.
All right, Ms. Schellheim.
I move that we take our legislative person's advice and hold a no position on House Bill 373.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Ellis.
Thank you. And so, like I said, I wanted to hear others' thoughts before finalizing my position on this. And I've been listening. First of all, as far as, again, I understand the advice of taking no position because we're talking about, electing these seats. However, this could have a great impact on this school system. Therefore, I feel comfortable taking a position. Another thing, again, it's unique in Anne Arundel County. Our students do have a voice through our student member. Our student members have diligently and effectively served as a voice for our students, and I appreciate that. And I believe, Mr. Lynn, I wouldn't have expected you to take any other position because you are representing our students. So I appreciate that. However, the statements I made before still give me concern. Yes, students do have part-time jobs. That's not the same. And again, not every student is the same. There are students who are contributing to their households. But for the most part, 16-year-olds, if they have a part-time job, that's just another part of the learning process, and they are taking that next step towards adulthood. They're not supporting families, and it's not quite the same thing as adulthood. I was invited to a panel at Southern High School a couple years ago, and it was a panel of county and state representatives, and it was a civics lesson. There were lots of students. We met in the library, and we broke out into work groups, and each of us representatives had a table that we sat at with students, and we were given questions to ask and work through. And one of them was, should we lower the voting age? And it was interesting to see the reactions of students at the table with me, because there were a couple of 18-year-olds there who were like, because they remember themselves at 16. And again, these are not disparaging comments about our 16-year-olds. I've, just been through raising 14s, and they're amazing people. And, but they're not fully developed and don't have the perspective that is needed to make some of these decisions. And again, these are generalizations, but we're talking about changing the entire law for the entire population. So for that reason, I will not be supporting the motion. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Howe.
Ms. Schulheim moved that the board hold a no position on House Bill 0373. Mr. Lynn?
Aye.
Ms. Frank?
Nay.
Dr. Tobin?
Aye.
Ms. Ellis?
Nay.
Ms. Schulheim?
Aye.
Ms. Dent?
Aye.
Mr. Silkworth?
Aye.
That's 5 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative. Motion passes.
Okay, Ms. Wilson? Anything else?
No, not for me. Thank you for taking a position on this.
Okay.
I have another question.
Yes, we have something from Dr. Tobin.
So I wanted to ask if you would be kind enough to update us on, I think it's HBO 456, SBO 386, the law on, or the bill on voting rights and participation by student members.
Happy to. So this is on page 12 of your items of legislation exhibit. If you'd like to look at the bill summary I've provided, as well as my opposition testimony. So in speaking with the bill sponsor, which is Delegate Fair in the House and Senator Karen Lewis Young in the Senate, the intention of this bill was very much to raise the threshold for student member voting rights who currently do not have the voting rights that are entrusted in our student member of the board, to exclude only a few minimum things that they couldn't vote on, including the superintendent's contract, appeals made by the superintendent, or the dismissal or reprimand of certain levels of staff. The bill as drafted had the unintended consequence of removing the rights of our student member of the board unless they were reaffirmatively restored by the vote of the adult members of the board. So I reached out to both the House and the Senate sponsor of the bill to share our concerns. I did submit written opposition testimony to both of the bills, which are being heard in about 1 minute in the House. But I will say that I did receive amendments from both the House and the Senate sponsors of the bills this morning that address our concerns. They completely removed the language relating to the Anne Arundel County Board of Education. So I have withdrawn our opposition testimony under those conditions.
Thank you. And thank you to our first SMOG, Dr. Anthony Arend of Georgetown University, for reaching out and being willing to offer testimony on our behalf. So thank you. Thank you for your work on this, Ms. Wilson.
Of course.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll be moving on to item 6.05, the Monarch Academy Public Charter School Charter Agreement Renewal.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. This, we have staff coming up and they will introduce themselves for the record, but I did want to start off by saying to you all that I 100% recommend a charter renewal for a term of 7 years for Monarch Academy Public Charter School, the Glen Burnie campus. I have been extremely pleased with the results, the body of work, who's being served. And anybody who knows me knows that I have been very critical of charter schools prior to coming to Anne Arundel County, because part of my concern has been that I feel that there are a number of charter schools that tout that they're here to truly make a difference. They cream off the top and then they're able to just promote data, but not servicing the percentage of those who really need this different experience. When I look at your data, you're doing everything that I would expect that a charter should do. When I look at special education percentages, when I look at free and reduced lunch percentages, when I look at the percent of students who are being served in the respective community, it embraces to me the essence of what a charter school should do. But most importantly, the results. The results speak for itself. They're not inflated. It's true, honest data. There is an evidence of value-added learning. And so for me, I 100% support this recommendation, and I will pass it over to you all to do your part.
Great. Well, good afternoon, President Silkworth, Vice President Frank, members of the board, and Dr. Bedell. For the record, my name is Pat Crane, Director of Educational Options and School Climate. You have before you today Dr. Bedell's renewal recommendation for both Monarch Academy and Monarch Global Academy. Today, the principals at both schools will be joining me to provide to you a brief presentation about each of their respective schools. At this time, I'd like to provide them the opportunity to quickly introduce themselves.
Good afternoon, I'm Kim Jakovics. I'm the principal at Monarch Academy Public Charter School in Glen Burnie.
Good afternoon, I'm Emily Abel, proud principal of Monarch Global Academy.
Prior to their presentations, though, I'd like to provide a brief overview of the charter renewal process that took place for both schools. The 23-24 school year represents the final year of both Monarch Global and Monarch Academy's contract. AACPS staff began to work in early August with Monarch's leadership, governing board, and operator to initiate a comprehensive charter renewal process. The charter school renewal process included many steps and levels of review. Specifically, the renewal process included a rigorous renewal application, which was submitted to AACPS staff in October, as well as a 2-day site review, which included both an operational and instructional review, as well as stakeholder interviews with parents, students, and staff. It's important to understand that although the charter renewal process began this past August, AACPS has been monitoring the progress of both schools on a regular basis by way of ongoing AACPS staff oversight, annual site reviews, and compliance monitoring. Because our charter and contract schools are AACPS schools, with AACPS employees and students, the data for each of these schools is included in the overall AACPS data files. Therefore, the monitoring of each of these schools is similar to how we monitor the progress of all of our comprehensive schools. Each of our charter and contract schools are subject to enrollment through a random lottery operated through a third-party vendor. State law prohibits the charter schools from soliciting any student-level information prior to enrollment. Therefore, the lottery is purely random. The evaluation findings renewal reports, which each of you have for both Monarch Academy and Monarch Global, were developed using a variety of qualitative and quantitative data compiled over both schools' current term. Many key indicators of the charter school's performance can be measured in specific areas such as academic achievement, parent satisfaction, compliance to the charter agreement, financial position, and school climate. We believe these reports accurately and transparently support Dr. Bedell's recommendation for renewal, as well as reflect the progress that both Monarch schools have made over their current contract terms under each of the previously mentioned indicators, as well as areas that are in need of attention and continued monitoring. Many of the strengths that you will hear about today from both principals include their consistent improvement as it relates to state assessments over the course of their current contract, their high student attendance rates, their unique teaching methods offered through a research-based, real-world, authentic lens, consistent implementation of the school's mission and vision, a high level of parent satisfaction evidenced by continued high numbers of applicants and operating at full capacity each year, each school serving a diverse range of student populations, high levels of staff retention with no teacher vacancies, and full compliance to their charter agreement and district requirements. At this time, I'd like to introduce Kim Jakovics, principal at Monarch Academy. Kim has worked in AACPS since 1997 and has held various positions at various schools during this time. She has taught at Mary Moss Academy, South River, and Annapolis High Schools, was an assistant principal at Corcoran Middle School. Kim has been the principal of Monarch Academy for 6 years. In the 2009-10 school year, Kim was recognized as the Milken National Award winner for the state of Maryland, and in 2022 was named the Maryland Charter School Principal of the Year. Monarch Academy has been in operation since 2009, and this renewal represents their third charter renewal. At this time, I'd like to turn over to Kim for her presentation.
Thank you, Pat. Good afternoon, President Silkworth, Vice President Frank, members of the board, and Dr. Bedell. For the record, I'm Kim Jakovics, and I'm the principal at Monarch Academy Public Charter School. I've served for 6 years. Our school was founded in 2009 and recently named one of U.S. News and World Report's best middle and elementary schools, and we're in our 15th year of operation. Before we proceed, if it's okay, I'd like to just thank our parents who showed up today in the middle of their workday to give their commentary in support of our school. We wouldn't be the school that we are without parental support and a strong partnership with families, and so I just wanted to thank them. For those that are watching at home waiting for this as well. We are a K-8 school located on Bay Meadow Drive in Glen Burnie, Maryland, right off Ordnance Road. We were designed originally to accept students from any geographical area of Anne Arundel County. Though that's still true, we mostly attract students from the northern half of the county. Our largest concentration of students at 42% comes from Glen Burnie. And that cluster followed by Old Mill, North County, Arundel, Northeast, and Meade clusters. Our school is beautifully diverse, racially, ethnically, socioeconomically, and geographically. Monarch Academy Glen Burnie is a school in demand. We have met our enrollment goals in each year of operation, and we retain about 90% of our students from year to year. Our number of lottery applicants ranges annually from 600 to 1,000 applicants in our lottery. On average, we take about 18% of those applicants and offer them a seat at Monarch. 63 students out of that go into our kindergarten class. So about 60 students are offered a seat from grades 1 to 8 for each year. Our students do stay with us from K to 8. In addition to our alignment with Anne Arundel County Public Schools and that very strong partnership, Monarch Academy's educational vision and mission are anchored by our partner organizations. Our operator, the Children's Guild, is also represented here today, established our school's strong culture. Our decision-making is guided by a kids-first mindset and informed through a focus on brain literacy. Our instructional approach is influenced by our partnership with EL Education, formerly known as Expeditionary Learning. We are the only EL partner school in Anne Arundel County. We believe in the power of crew to foster community. We believe that students should engage in deep learning and meaningful work. This work is enriched through fieldwork and interactions with experts, resulting in a product that has purpose and authenticity. We embed a commitment to service, action, and reflection into our learning framework and believe that the students' resulting products should be shared publicly. I love this slide. When Dr. Bedell visited Monarch in the fall, one of our students told him that students have a voice at Monarch. We have intentionally created structures and traditions that give space for students to speak about their work and their growth. Our students have opportunities to lead and explore. These images highlight our students leading community meetings, showcasing their learning, participating in class discussions, service activities, intergrade learning, and team building. These are everyday, typical Monarch experiences. Today, for example, about 300 families are at Monarch right now with their students, sharing their work reflections and portfolios in a student-led conference. I would like to take this opportunity to shamelessly invite you to our end-of-year passage presentations in June, where our 5th and 8th grade students present evidence of their readiness to move from one level of education to the next, to a panel of community members. We would love to have you join and participate in this rite of passage and bear witness to what we do. Since Monarch Glen Burnie attracts students from throughout the county, I look at our data through multiple lenses. I compare us to the Glen Burnie cluster because the majority of our students come from there. I also compare us to the 6 geographic areas from which 98.6% of our students come, as well as to the district as a whole. Since our last renewal, we've only had 2 opportunities to take the MCAP and MESA assessments due to COVID. On MCAP and MESA, our students sometimes exceeded the district average and very often scored better than their peers in their home clusters. We are very excited that through our focus on writing in middle school last year, our ELA MCAP scores improved at a rate exceeding the district's growth rate. Likewise, due to focused alignment of instruction to the standards, which has been our work for several years, our algebra scores grew at an extraordinary rate. In 2018, we embraced the science of reading, resulting in a greater percentage of our primary students achieving proficiency and instruction at the core and core plus levels as measured by DIBELS. As a K-8 school, we receive an MSDE report card for our elementary and our middle school, and then those are averaged together into our overall star rating. Our middle school was a 4-star rating both years, and our elementary a 3-star rating. Our K-8 school average was a 4-star in 2022, while in 2023 we averaged a 3-star. We believe that our middle school data is really important as it shows the level of impact of our entire K-8 program on students as they prepare to leave Monarch for high school. It's our belief that because most students remain with us from 5th to 6th grade, the struggle of the middle school transition is minimized for our students. Moreover, this progression, as well as our smaller middle school cohort size, allows for stronger ongoing relationships between students, staff, and families. We see this impact in the performance of some of our Monarch student groups that outperform their peers in the district on normed assessments. So in the next 7 years, which was the recommendation for this charter, Monarch will reclaim our 4-star overall rating and move toward a 5-star. Doing this will require fine-tuning and focus on several important areas. As you may have noted, our percentage of students receiving IEP services consistently exceeds the AACPS average. And because this is also an area that's very difficult to hire, it's essential that we grow our expertise and effectiveness in providing specialized instruction to students who receive IEP services and retain those staff who we grow and train. As a project-based program, our students spend time drafting, revising, and polishing their final written products rather than writing on demand. So we need to align our writing instruction from grades K to 8 to foster students' independence as writers to more effectively write to a task. Likewise, as a project-based school, we need to more powerfully powerfully use that student data to alleviate gaps. Since we are a K-8 school, we have our students for 9 years. So we see grades K1, 2, what their needs are, and we have 6 more years after that to affect it before they leave us and go to high school. So we really need to capitalize on that opportunity with our students. I thank you for your time, and I appreciate the opportunity to highlight Monarch. I could talk for hours because I love our school so much.
Thank you, Kim. At this time, I'd like to introduce Emily Abel, principal at Monarch Global Academy. Emily has worked in ACPS for 15 years. During this time, she was a teacher at Crofton Elementary School and a Right Start advisor at several schools in the Glen Burnie and Meade clusters. She was an assistant principal at Van Bocklen Elementary School and worked for 4 years as an assistant principal at Monarch Global before becoming their principal 3 years ago. Emily is also nationally board certified and proud to say that she just had this renewed. So congratulations, Emily, on that. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to her for her presentation.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Crane. Good afternoon, President Silkworth, Vice President Frank, esteemed members of the board, and Dr. Bedell. My name is Emily Abel, and I'm the proud principal of Monarch Global Academy, also known as MGA. I want to thank you first for the opportunity to speak on behalf of our incredible students, staff, and community as you consider the renewal of our contract. I'd like to start by sharing the history of MGA and how it all started. Monarch Global Academy was built in 2013 in partnership between Anne Arundel County Public Schools and our operator, the Children's Guild, to provide a solution to overcrowding in a portion of the Meade cluster. Inside the doors of our school, we are on a mission to provide students with a school culture that produces students who think critically, problem solve creatively, become self-disciplined, know how to learn, and who understand that the goal in life is to serve a cause greater than oneself. Monarch Global Academy opened during the 2014-2015 school year, welcoming 465 students in grades kindergarten through 5th grade who live in the Maryland City, Jessup, and Brockbridge elementary zoning areas. In 2015, we added 6th grade, and in the summer of 2016, we became authorized as an International Baccalaureate World School. This was quite an accomplishment in such a short period of time. The next year, we added 7th grade, and by the 2017-2018 school year, we reached our full capacity of 830 students in grades kindergarten through 8th grade. That same year, we built a second building behind our main building that now houses our 1st and 2nd grade students. This building is now known as the Chrysalis Center. During this same year, MGA teacher Heather Carnahan was chosen as Anne Arundel County's Teacher of the Year. At the end of the 2022-2023 school year, we were able to celebrate the first group of children who started their educational journey at Monarch Global and were promoted to high school. We've continued to reach our enrollment capacity of roughly 830 children each year while also maintaining a wait list. Here you can see our demographics as of this year. It's important to note that the student groups with the most significant growth since our opening are our English learners and our students receiving free and reduced meals. Each of these student groups has doubled since the 2014-2015 school year. On the left, you can see the geographic diversity. While a majority of our students come from the Brockbridge elementary zoning areas, there's still a small percentage of students who travel from Jessup Elementary School area. The Jessup population has significantly decreased since the expansion of Jessup Elementary in 2019. At Monarch Global Academy, academic programming is our priority. As part of our partnership with the Children's Guild and Transformation Education, MGA utilizes a whole child approach to supporting children and families. Our staff are trained in brain literacy, and all school decisions are made through a kids first lens. In grades kindergarten through 5th grade, we utilize the International Baccalaureate Primary Years Program, which offers an inquiry-based transdisciplinary curriculum framework that builds conceptual understanding. In our middle school, our students focus on 21st century skills in a real-world context, utilizing a project-based learning model, which is a natural extension of the PYP. We offer AVID in our middle school and have infused AVID in our elementary school. To elevate engagement in the creative process, we utilize artful thinking strategies through arts integration. In addition, we partner with AACPS through the Be Present initiative the implementation of the Reveal Math curriculum in our elementary grades, and we plan to join AACPS in the implementation of the Science of Reading curriculum next year. We also complete all required AACPS and state assessments so that we're able to measure our progress towards mastery. Part of our standard practice at MGA is to utilize quarterly surveys to collect data on the experience of our students, families, and staff. Here are a few quotes from one of our recent surveys. You can see pictures of our students engaging in a recent art project and participating in our newly offered dance course in middle school. On the left, you see one of our new students, Joy, who was photographed showing the joy of being a new student at MGA in our first quarterly celebration. You can see our middle school students engaging in a station rotation model, a performance by our newly inducted thespians, and our principal honor roll celebration. This is Mr. Watkins. He is one of our kindergarten teachers who is loved by his students and who has made significant growth due to the coaching and support that he's received from my coaches on staff. Growing high-quality teachers is a foundational practice at MGA. We know that our superpower in public education is growing the teachers that are in our building, and at MGA we do just that, which is evidenced by the quote from one of our teachers, Rachel Noonan. Here you can see some of our measures of effectiveness based on last year's MCAP assessment. Before winter break, we received the exciting news that we maintained our MSDE 4-star rating for a second year in a row in both our middle school and our elementary school. You can see several areas where we outscored the district and our feeder. You can also see several grade levels that showed growth from the 2022 MCAP to the 2023, most notably in our 7th and 8th grade, an ELA growth of 22 percentage points. Last year, our attendance rate was higher than the district by 7%, and we're continuing on that same positive trend this year. We only have 1 year of graduation data from our former students. However, their graduation rate exceeds the feeder and the county. Last year, 32 of our 94 8th graders went on to participate in AACPS magnet or special programs. MGA is also a place that cultivates leadership, growth, and development. As you notice on our leadership pipeline, in the past 10 years, there have been 4 MGA assistant principals who have been promoted and are now serving as principals in AACPS. 2 resource teachers promoted to assistant principal, and 2 teachers promoted to school-based coordinator positions. Over the next 7 years of our contract, MGA plans to continue to cultivate a 5-star state of mind amongst our students, staff, and community. Our students deserve a 5-star school, and at MGA, we will not stop until we get there. We will continue to use data to make decisions to plan for excellent academic experiences that will lead to growth on MCAP. We will continue our intentional focus on how to best support our English learners as they make progress towards English language proficiency. We will also continue our focus on cultivating a positive school climate for students, staff, and families. I asked our MGA staff to describe our school in 5 words, and this is what they came up with. In the center, you can see the word caring. Our school cares about inquiry, innovation, and growth, and we could not do this work without the support of our AACPS partners. I hope the board will wholeheartedly consider a renewal of our contract. Thank you for your time and support.
Great. Thank you, Emily. And at this time, we are available for questions.
Okay, Ms. Shahan.
I would like to thank you both for a wonderful presentation. This was great information. I love learning about your school communities. I'd love to set up a time to go visit. And I just thank you for your time today. I'm happy to offer a motion at the appropriate time, or one of my colleagues can, but I'll be in support of both of these renewals. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shahan. I would like to mention that it's my understanding we're going to need a separate motion for each one. So we'll need 2. I believe Ms. Dent was next.
Of course she was. So first of all, everybody, I had the pleasure of learning about Monarch when I first came on the board. I had no idea what Monarch was. Thank you, Dr. Tobin, for not only introducing me, but educating me on it. But that wasn't the that wasn't the portion. Is my time up? That was, I'm just kidding, just kidding. That wasn't the portion that really hit me. What really stayed with me was when I went to visit the school, when I actually got a chance to come inside the schools. And I wrote a quote down that I thought that was really stuck with me. And when I went to visit Monarch Academy in Glen Burnie, it's a serving, let me see, it's a serving a cause larger than yourself. And I really did feel that way as I walked through the halls. I really enjoyed not only the visit, but then when I started talking to the students and the parents of the students, I've never seen someone so engaged. And so I really keep trying to figure out, how do I take the model that Monarch has and put it in all of the schools that I represent inside of District 1. I haven't figured that out yet, but I'm coming to visit both of you all so that we can talk a little bit more about that. But I do want to tell you that not only do I appreciate what you've done, but I wrote a comment down that I really think is important because I wanted to put my words in place. And normally I don't write things down, but I think it's important that you know that because I'm getting this from actual parents that are going there. Now they complain to me all the time about you don't have enough people, or enough openings in order for them to be able to get their children in. But there's a reason for that, right? But the effectiveness of Monarch Academy is unparalleled from a positive school climate into their impact into our communities. And for this, our kids are getting what they need. They're getting, and they're serving the kids that have the most needs. And while you're preparing them to cope with everyday challenges, you're also providing them with life skills that they need to cope beyond the halls of learning. And I say that because I'm privy to a lot of the challenges that children deal with when they leave the school. What I really appreciate, and I hope that it will always continue, not just now, but well past these 7 years, is that you all go beyond the community. You mean beyond the school, you go into the community for you serve. So for that, I do strongly support this motion. I mean, we'll strongly support the motion when it's at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Tobin.
Thank you. Thank you all for your presentation. As many know, I spend a lot of time reviewing charter schools, and so I'm always very happy to see the presentation. And I congratulate you both on what I think are some excellent data and history that you've built in this time. And I always look first at the farms and SPED data for almost every charter because that's often an Achilles heel. And it seems to me that the outreach work to really pull from the diverse community is working. So congratulations on that. I would also like to add, you know, I do happen to think I've had occasion to look at the laws on charter schools in all 50 states, and I've always particularly admired the structure of the Maryland law because we are put in a position of really considering all the charter students in our county to be our students. There is no differentiation between all of the AACPS students and any charters. And to that end, and Dr. Bedell and I think have had some of these conversations, but I would hope, because I think this is one of the reasons charters were developed initially, that as Ms. Dent alluded to, where there are practices that are really flourishing in your schools that we are, I understand the need to grow your own and maintain in the building, but I would presume that we're also working to build capacity for some of this work throughout our system. EL, in my own view, is a very powerful structure, as is PBL. And I think that as we have your schools, we have another charter that was recently approved that is also using EL aspects, that, you know, we really are thinking about how we can continue the growth of, I think, some of these practices that also, I think, very much align with the pedagogical impetus of the Blueprint for Maryland legislation as we move forward. So I'd just like to put a plug in for what I'm sure is already happening, which is that kind of synergy and integration of the work, the sort of laboratory work of charters that can help inform a lot of the other work around our system. So thank you for what you do, and I certainly see every reason to support these renewals. So thank you.
Okay, seeing no more lights, are we ready for a motion, first of all, for the Monarch Academy Public Charter School Glen Burnie campus?
Yes, I move that the agreement renewal, that we renew the agreement for Monarch Academy Public Charter in Glen Burnie.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any discussion? Seeing no lights, Ms. Howe?
Mr. Lynn?
Aye.
Ms. Frank?
Aye.
Dr. Tobin?
Aye.
Ms. Ellis?
Aye.
Ms. Schulheim?
Aye.
Ms. Dent?
Aye.
Mr. Silkworth?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
I'm glad we could bring everybody together on this.
Okay, so do we have a motion for the Monarch Global Academy Public Contract?
I'm happy to bring a motion. Oh, sorry. I put my light on, but.
Well, I see three lights. I'm gonna,
Right.
I don't know who was first, Miss Ellis.
Thank you. I move to approve the contract for Monarch Globe.
Second.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Do I see any lights? I do see a light. Miss Frank?
Just very briefly, I didn't bring this up in the last round, but I also wanted to thank the folks who came out to comment today. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day. It's really important that we're hearing feedback, good, bad, and other, not always getting the good. So thank you very much for taking the time to make sure that we're aware of the personal impact that you are having and that your children are having. So thank you very much for coming out.
Miss Ellis?
I'm done.
Okay. Okay, seeing no more lights, Miss Howe?
Mr. Lynn?
Aye.
Ms. Frank?
Aye.
Dr. Tobin?
Aye.
Ms. Ellis?
Aye.
Ms. Schulheim?
Aye.
Ms. Dent?
Aye.
Mr. Silkworth?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, congratulations. Okay, we're moving on to review item 7.0, water award of contracts. Dr. Tobin.
Yes, I have just one brief question. And it really is just to ask if someone is available on the staff to give a quick overview, because I think the public might be interested to hear a little more about the audit of birth to 5 programs.
For the record, Matt Stansky, Chief Financial Officer.
And Marquise Duarte, Chief Academic Officer.
Specific questions or just overview or?
Just a quick overview. I think it's something that's valuable for the public to just be a little more aware of, and specifically what some of the focus is. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of an all-encompassing audit that's really helping us frame out what we're going to do moving forward around special ed. So obviously special ed is a priority area for the superintendent and the work we have to do around that. So it's going to look globally at what we're doing around our programming, but also in terms of our instructional offerings, and then provide some feedback from which we would then build kind of an action plan for next steps. I mean, there's some particulars in there. I don't know if you want to hit the bullet points. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you have, it's, again, as Dr. Duarte alluded to, a full assessment, overview of what our current state is, and then ultimately what our desired state is.
And work around root cause analysis as well.
Right.
So that'll be the root causes of some of the issues and concerns we have.
So I really appreciate that because I think it's one of those items that when people see it, they don't understand necessarily the special ed part of it. And I just thought it was very valuable to bring that to light, Dr. Bell.
Yeah, and let me just say this. We do these initial audits, and in doing some of these initial audits, the findings then may require that we have to go a little bit more prescriptive and a little bit more deeper. And I think as we continue to look at the findings that we've gotten from the general curriculum audit, I mean, this is one of the first that may be an offspring of that. There may be more as we think about just how we are trying to redesign how we provide instruction in this school district. And we can do all of this work and try to fix special education. My attitude is you can't start to fix it once the kids are in, second grade and up. You have to begin at the very beginning. And if you do it right and you redesign it right, these kids are going to then be raised in our school district educationally with a much more stronger foundation that we've been able to be much more prescriptive in how we provide services.
Well, I appreciate that. I think I certainly support that approach. As I've said before, I think when you lift up your most vulnerable students, you lift everyone up. And so I really thank you, Dr. Bedell, and thank you to the staff for engaging in this. I think it's critically important. And as I said, I just wanted to make sure it was brought to light so the public had a better understanding of what this actually was. So I appreciate your coming, and I appreciate my colleagues because I know we're about to get out of here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we do not have any public comments on non-agenda items. Some upcoming events, public forum for students, Tuesday, February 20th, 6 p.m. here in the boardroom. Equity Committee meets Tuesday, February 27th, 12 p.m. virtually. Budget Committee is Tuesday, February 20th. I believe that's now a 1 p.m. virtual meeting. Policy Committee, Tuesday, March 5, 3 p.m. virtual. And our next general board meeting is Wednesday, February 21st, 2024, 6:30 p.m. here in the boardroom. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Do I have consensus? I thought so. Thank you. Good night. Goodbye.